This party started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week number 3 of the Little Rock Touchdown Club. As you can see, David's missing in action. He'll be back next week, though. He's doing fine, but I get to handle it this week, and what a week. It's Texas week. Think about it, Texas week. For guys my age and older, that really used to mean something, and it's going to mean something again here when we're conference foes, Vince, in just a few years. Texas has seen the light and moving back into a real conference again, so we are looking forward to that. I have to tell you real quickly, one of my favorite Texas Week stories were told to me by some guys that used to run back in the glory days for the cross-country and track program in Arkansas. And Lou Holtz was the football coach then. And they had the football team was practicing. You all remember the old indoor workout facility and the Broyles facility, and they had come in there. Well, the cross-country guys, it was a rainy day, had been running, and they came in there, and they were sitting inside, and they were really cutting up and making a lot of noise. And Coach Holtz blew a gasket, as he was known to do from time to time, and he comes over and veins are popping out of his neck. They said, and he screams, says, "Can you hold it down over there? Can't you see? It's Texas week. It's Texas week." And the great Frank O'Mara, you know, who ran in 3 different Olympics for Ireland, one of the greatest Razorbacks ever, member of the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame. O'Mara looks at Holtz and in that great Irish accent of his says, "Texas, I don't see the problem. We don't seem to have any problem with them." Well, we didn't in cross-country or track. Football may be a little different deal, but it is Texas week. How about this lineup? Sam Pittman 2 weeks ago. How about Vern Lundquist last week? Was he not great? Oh, wow, to use one of his lines. He was really good. The great Vince Young today, and next week, of course, Terry Bradshaw. So I suggest you go home, register as soon as possible this afternoon for that meeting because it will be a sellout. Without further ado, let me bring on our official, I'm making you official, Gary, our official chaplain of the Touchdown Club, Gary Underwood, with our invocation.
Thank you, Rex. Is Texas following Oklahoma to SEC? Is that the deal? Other way around. Okay. My family might disagree with you, but that's okay. Guys, I got some great news. While I was eating, I got a phone call, and they said, "This is your last reminder about your car warranty expiring." Won't get any more of those calls. That's great. Yeah, until 1 o'clock today, right? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the beautiful day, the opportunity to gather together, enjoy some great food, some great fellowship, hear a great speaker, and just enjoy the day. Lord, we thank you so much for the opportunity to do that. We do ask you to just be with us today to help us to serve you in every way possible. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. By the way, we got some glasses somebody left at the table, so pick them up afterwards. If you can't see the podium, there's a reason right now. So come up afterwards and pick them up. Now, you can watch if you're not here in the future. If you can't make it, remember you can always watch online at littlerocktouchdown.com or the Touchdown Club Facebook page, or you can listen on 103.7 The Buzz. Now, Sully, I have been in training for this. It's like running a marathon because I was already going to have my first full recap today. Now I have to do the Bass sponsor introduction, which takes about as long as the recap and the recap. So deep breath. Here we go. I've been training. Thanks to all of our sponsors. 103.7 The Buzz, I just mentioned, broadcasting live every week here at the Touchdown Club. The Hatcher Agency in Twin City Limo, the home of outrageous service. Thank you, Greg Hatcher. And how about the game that Little Rock's own Lane Hatcher had for ASU on Saturday? Much to RJ's regret, he came in and saved the day against the Bears. To War Memorial Stadium, home of 2 high school teams now, still home of great college games, and an in-state game October 23rd, Arkansas versus UAPB at War Memorial Stadium. Remember that. Arkansas Urology. It's Men's Health Month. They have clinics across Arkansas serving over 100,000 patients annually. The Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Todd Dennis, Stephen Reichert provide excellent service, excellent people who are local. Advantage Service Company. Truly, one call does it all. I'm not going to sing the jingle. I'm going to spare you, but that is an earworm. It kind of sticks in you. Residential, commercial sales and service. Thank you, Advantage Service Company. Thank you to Dairy Queen. I drove by just the other day, and they're about to open their 11th Arkansas location in Arkadelphia, where I am every other Saturday broadcasting football games this fall. So I have a new post-game hangout. And I may bring dilly bars for the drive home too, and get them all over my shirt. Thank you, Dairy Queen, and thank you, Big Red Stores. The Hendricks family's opening their 43rd location in Arkadelphia, next to that Dairy Queen. Amazing growth by Big Red. 43 locations now. Simmons Bank Arena. Remember, Monster Jam is back this Saturday and Sunday. Kids and a lot of adults who act like kids really like big, loud trucks. So you can go to SimmonsBankArena.com for tickets and time for that. Law firm Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, which keeps David out of the poorhouse, a 121-year-old firm, attorneys in Little Rock and Rogers. If you're interested in working with college athletes with name, likeness, and image opportunities, they can also help you. Thank them for their sponsorship. Also, Crane Automotive, the largest dealer group in Arkansas, 17 automotive dealerships, 3 RV dealerships, 1 power sports dealership, 1,000 Arkansans employed by Crane Automotive. Thank you for helping the Little Rock Touchdown Club go. My employer, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, I can promise you, you open that paper on Saturday morning, and there is no newspaper in America that covers high school football like the Democrat Gazette does. 5 full pages of high school football. And then on Sunday, of course, all the college football. Honored to be a part of that, and thank you for your sponsorship. And the best presenting sponsor in America, and we couldn't get these great sponsors without Simmons Bank. Thank you to Simmons. In fact, we have the pride of Lake Village, Freddie Black, sitting down there. How was your dove hunt, Freddie? I know that's a big deal. You had a good hunt? Good. That's a big deal down there for Freddie on Labor Day weekend. Simmons Bank, our presenting sponsors. Now, let's hear it for all of our sponsors. All right, we've got other people to thank, of course, because this is David's Notes, so you thank everybody in the crowd, you remember. Actually, we do thank the Doubletree Hotel for the great job they do, Matt Johnson for making all of our sound, our AV working, Dwayne Duncan, who takes literally thousands of photos here every week, R.J. Hawk sitting up at the big kids table today, who does our social media every week, Meredith Scott Hell from CareLink also helps us with that social media. Our volunteer team, don't they do a great job? Some of them, including my spouse, have been with us all 17 years that we've been doing this, and our great executive director, Debbie Wyman. Let's hear it for all those folks that make this go. Yeah, we only started, we're less than 20 years old, Vince, and as you can see from the size of this crowd, we have already built perhaps the top football club in America here. It is a credit to all of you, in addition to those sponsors and volunteers who come every week. All right, we've had 2 weeks of high school football now, and it's time for our first All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. That's presented every week by the Democrat Gazette. I'm sure glad we include high school football in this mix every week. So I'm going to call up R.J. Hawk to recognize our winner. R.J.?
Thank you, Rex. I tell you, we've seen a lot of good football over the last couple of weeks, but I don't know if we've seen one player do exactly what Josh Shepard from Rogers has done. Let me read these off to you now. 52 yards, 63 yards, 64 yards, 72 yards, and 90-yard runs all in one game. Yes, all in one game. Josh Shepard from Rogers, not only is he an outstanding athlete, but he and his family, Latina and Leonard, they drove all the way from Rogers to be here today. By far the farthest anybody's ever driven to come down here for this meeting today. In that game against Siloam Springs, he rushed for 402 yards on 15 carries and 6 touchdowns, had an average of 26.8 yards per carry in that game against Siloam Springs. So without further ado, I want to bring up Josh right now, Josh Shepard. His coach, assistant coach Darren Hotelling's here, Leonard Shepard and Latina Shepard.
Congratulations, and thank y'all for driving all the way from Rogers. We really appreciate it, and you are welcome back anytime because we certainly consider ourselves a statewide club here. All right, how nice was it to have a full weekend of college football finally? Fans in the stands. I mean, it felt like old times for the first time in a couple of years. So let's get right to the recap. Arkansas 38, the Rice Owls 17. Once down by 10 points in that game. Anybody sweating at that point? The Hogs righted the ship down the stretch before a crowd of about 64,000 in Fayetteville. K.J. Jefferson, 12 of 21 passing, 128 yards with a TD and an interception. He also had 89 rushing yards. So Arkansas is now 36-29-3. Not as much as you would think because remember, Rice had great teams decades ago, but 36-29-3 all time against Rice. Arkansas has won 17 of the past 19 games between those two teams. I do remember the aforementioned Lou Holtz lost to Rice one year. You'll remember this story, Sully, and he starts the Lou Holtz show the next day. Welcome to the Lou Holtz show. Unfortunately, I'm Lou Holtz, so you don't want to lose to Rice, and they didn't. Hog defense only allowed Rice 81 rushing yards. Arkansas outgained Rice, not as much as you would think because Rice had a lot of success through the air, 373-308. Rice has now lost 12 consecutive games to other SEC teams. All right, on to that ASU-UCA game. A lot of big crowd, a lot of atmosphere in Jonesboro on Saturday night. James Blackman started the game for ASU Saturday night, but in comes the man to save the day for the Red Wolves, Lane Hatcher, completing all 12 of his pass attempts and throwing 4 touchdown passes in that football game. Great job. ASU wins at 40-21. UCA had led at the half by a score of 7-6. UAPB is 1-0 following a 34-16 win over Lane College in Pine Bluff on Saturday night. You'll remember they played a spring schedule at UAPB, and they were 4-1 in the spring. So that is a program on the way back up again. Quarterback Skylar Perry, 18 of 30. Yeah, let's hear it for the Golden Lions. 18 of 31 passing, 189 yards and a touchdown. Perry also rushed for 79 yards. You're going to hear his name a lot this season. And the 6 Arkansas GAC teams, it was a very good week for Arkansas. Now, remember, there are 6 Arkansas teams. There are 6 Oklahoma teams. No non-conference games. Every game counts. All 11 are conference games. And the 6 Arkansas teams went 5-1 against Oklahoma competition last week. Let's hear it for Arkansas. Ouachita, winner of the past 3 conference titles, won its 28th consecutive conference game. That's one of the longest conference win streaks at any level of college football. But the Tigers had to come from behind in the 4th quarter to do it. Gary's Oklahoma Baptist, he's wearing his shirt today, made Ouachita sweat. Ouachita wins at 38-31. T.J. Cole led the way for the Tigers, 151 yards rushing. Henderson goes on the road. They beat Southwestern Oklahoma, 31-13. Quarterback Adam Moore, 17 of 26 passing for 183 yards. Southern Arkansas University beats Northwestern Oklahoma, 32-13. Hayden Mallory throws 3 touchdown passes for the Mule Riders. UAM defeats Southern Nazarene, 30-23. DeMillion Brown completes 19 of 32 passes for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Boll Weevils. And then in the only game, these all were played on Thursday, the only GAC game played on Saturday, Harding shuts out East Central Oklahoma 28-0 in Searcy. Cole Chansey rushes for 102 yards, 3 TDs, and get this, he becomes the conference's all-time leading rusher, 3,775 rushing yards and an entire season still to go. Cole Chansey, you'll hear that name a lot more. The only Arkansas loser in the GAC, Arkansas Tech, 43-20 to Southeastern Oklahoma in a game played at Russellville. Other Arkansas scores, Ottawa out of Arizona defeated Lyon College in NAIA play 76-10, and Arkansas Baptist gets a win in NAIA play, defeating RPA out of Euless, Texas, 20-0. Now, back to the SEC real quickly. Georgia upsets number 3 Clemson, but I don't think any of us saw a 10-3 game coming. 10-3, that's like something out of the 50s. You just don't hear of that anymore. Christopher Smith returns an interception, 74 yards for the game's only touchdown. Clemson had just 2 yards rushing in that game. Georgia has got one heck of a defense. Number 1 Alabama whips Miami 44-13 in Atlanta. Bryce Young becomes the first tied quarterback to throw 4 TD passes in his starting debut. In the great history of Alabama football, that had not been done by a quarterback the first time he got a start. Young was 27 of 38, 344 yards, and yes, it looks like Alabama's going to be Alabama again this year. Texas A&M beats Kent State 41-10. That's the Aggies' 9th consecutive victory. They closed the season last year with 8 straight, so 9 consecutive victories for the Aggies. Florida beats Florida Atlantic 35-14 as the new Gator quarterback. Emory Jones really struggled at times in that game. The heat turns up, meanwhile, on Coach O. LSU falls 38-26 to UCLA out in Pasadena. First time in 13 years for a Pac-12 team to beat a ranked SEC squad. First time in 13 years. Missouri beats Central Michigan 34-24. Tyler Beatty rushes for 185 yards. Kentucky beats Louisiana Monroe 45-10 in Terry Bowden's debut as the Monroe head coach, and Rich Rodriguez is his offensive coordinator in Monroe. Auburn beats Akron 60-10. Bo Nix passed for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Brian Harsin era is underway. Brian Harsin follows Gus Malzahn at ASU. Now he follows Gus Malzahn at Auburn. We'll see how that works out. And Mississippi State barely survives against Louisiana Tech, 35-34. They trailed by 20 in the fourth quarter, came back with 3 unanswered touchdowns. Tech got into field goal range, but missed a 45-yard attempt on the game's final play, and the Bulldogs survived. East Tennessee State just stuns Vanderbilt, 23-3. Vandy, the first SEC school to lose to an FCS program since 2015. South Carolina shuts out Southern Illinois 46-0. Back on Thursday, I know some of you watched this, Tennessee beat Bowling Green 38-6. And last night, I know many of you were watching, with the head coach left at home, Ole Miss still does just fine over in Atlanta. They beat Louisville 43-24, and I think Ole Miss is going to be very competitive in the West this year. All right, this week, of course, the main game involving SEC teams, the one we're going to be talking about, Texas at Arkansas. We also have Mercer at Alabama, Alabama State at Auburn, Florida at South Florida, UAB is at Georgia. Missouri is at Kentucky in the lone conference game. McNeese State at LSU. Austin Peay at Ole Miss. So you will get to hear two of the best yells in college football. Hotty toddy for Ole Miss, of course, and the Let's Go Peay for Austin Peay. That's always been my favorite chant in college football. North Carolina State is at Mississippi State. South Carolina's at East Carolina. Pittsburgh's at Tennessee. Texas A&M's at Colorado, and Vanderbilt is at Colorado State. Now, here in the state, Texas at Arkansas. A big one in Jonesboro. Memphis at ASU. Northwestern Oklahoma's at Henderson. Southwestern Oklahoma's at Southern Arkansas. Wayland Baptist is at Lyon College, and Wisconsin River Falls is coming a long way to play Hendricks. So you've got football in Fayetteville, Jonesboro, Arkadelphia, Magnolia, Batesville, and Conway on Saturday. You know what that means? No excuses. Get out and see a college football game on Saturday. Thanks, everybody. All right. You know, everybody needs a strong man in the bullpen. You need a fireman. We've got our fireman in Sully, a legend himself. I mean, Vince, you know when a guy's got an award named after him, he's big time, right? Well, look over there. There's Big Sully. There's Big Sully over there on the wall. The Sully Award. You're sitting by Little Sully here. But the great Steve Sullivan is going to interview our guest today, filling in for David. Steve, thank you for doing that. And before we get him up there, Sully's also put us together a little video on today's guest. Let's watch.
Vince Young was at his absolute best in the biggest game of his football career, the 2006 Rose Bowl. He accounted for 467 yards of offense, throwing for 267 yards and rushing for 200 as Texas put an end to USC's 34-game winning streak. This game-clinching touchdown run is regarded as one of the greatest plays in college football history. Vince Young's win-loss record at Texas, 30 wins and 2 losses. He's one of only 2 players in college history to throw for 3,000 yards and rush for 1,000 the same season. Vince was the 3rd pick of the 2006 draft. He was Rookie of the Year in 2006 and a 2-time Pro Bowl pick. He also earned Comeback Player of the Year honors in 2009. In 5 years with the Titans, he compiled a 30-17 record. Please welcome one of the greatest players in the storied history of Texas football, Vince Young.
And it does for a touchdown. Let's go back to the snap. From the end zone angle, you'll see points in the running game. 4th quarter, Titans down 29-20.
I think I saw Rex sweating. Well, that was exhausting. Anytime you can incorporate a "let's go pee," it just raises it right at the end. All right. How about that ovation here?
Thank you, Arkansas.
Texas week, and they're applauding a former Texas quarterback like that?
That's why I want to say thank you, Arkansas.
All right, but I heard you're not going to be at the game Saturday because you have a bigger game to attend. Tell everyone about it.
Yes, I was coming to the game, and, you know, being a dad, I'm enjoying being a father. And my 11-year-old is going to be his first football game playing wide out and quarterback. So I will miss the game, but I will be cheering on UT, though.
All right, let's talk about your upbringing. It's kind of, this is your life, Vince Young, and Hiram Clark, regarded as a very tough area in Houston. What life lessons did you learn growing up in that tough area?
Well, growing up in that area, I was predominantly black and Hispanic area. A lot of us kids, you know, us black kids out of that area, we don't make it, you know, because of drugs, gangs, so many things that distracts you from, you know, focusing or trying to go raise money for your family or either selling drugs or just get into the, you know, your environment that's around you. And, you know, I had some strong parents. My mom and my grandmother are the best women in the lives for me. I love my mom. I love my grandmother. Right now, if y'all can pray for my grandmother, she's going through old timers right now real bad. So if you can do that for me, I would thank you for that. But those two women, like my grandma is my #1 fan. If I throw interception, the first thing she says, "Why did you do that?" I'm like, "Mom, he made a play." I mean, Granny, he made a play on it. And then my mom, she's strong. She worked all the time to make sure me and my sisters had everything we wanted in life. So I was that kid that grew up with everybody hated on you or doubted you, and all you heard was, "You're not going to make it. You're not going to do this." So I took that as motivation, because of the fact I know I could do anything, because that's all you heard from my high school coach or my mom when she's whooping my butt. "You can do it, son." So that stuff stayed with me all my life. So when somebody was telling me I'm not going to be an African-American quarterback, I wasn't going to do it, I wasn't going to graduate from the university, or wasn't going to graduate, period, I took all those things as motivation. So I think that my neighborhood made me tougher because of the things I saw growing up as a kid. And then, my high school coaches and the people in my community made sure a couple of my guys in that generation was away from that in the summertime. And I tell a lot of people, like, find you something to do in the summertime, because that's when a kid gets in trouble, when he's not at school or he's not playing sports and things like that. So I did that in the summertime, stayed away from all the guys who was doing the drugs and selling drugs and doing all the gang stuff. My mom and my family and my coaches had me playing AAU basketball or at some kind of Toodles, Boys and Girls Club or something like that to keep myself out of trouble. So it was tough, but at the same time it made me a tough young man. And also I didn't have my father figure around, so I had to take care of the women in my household, my mother, my grandmother, and my two sisters.
And quickly, the story about number 10 you wear.
Yeah, number 10. That's June 10th of my mom's birthday, so it reminds me of her every day when I put that jersey on. I'm not only working for myself, but I'm fighting for my mom to make it a better way for her.
One of the greatest high school athletes ever in Texas. Parade All-American, Parade High School Football Player of the Year. May have been just as good in basketball, averaged 25 points a game, an all-state track athlete, and pitched and either played the outfield or first base in baseball. Your greatest memories of high school?
Greatest memory. Well, meeting my wife, Candace Young. So I tell a lot of people, like, we started dating in high school. And, I was just happy that happened, because without her, it was so many things happening, that can help, mess you up as your career and all of the above. But instead of going to hang out, I was with her and her mom. So I think that was one of the biggest things in my high school career, was started dating her, and I found her at a young age. So I can tell you young men in here, find your woman early. It works. It works.
Was it a recruiting war, or was it Texas all the way?
Well, Bobby Bowden, late Bobby Bowden, one of my favorite coaches. I wanted to go play at Florida State, actually. And I was a huge fan of Charlie Ward, Warren Dunn, Deion Sanders, the list goes on. And I was a huge fan of him. And so I'm excited, and I'm getting all kind of letters coming in. And Coach Seals like, "You got your first letter from my high school coach?" His name is Coach Seals, Ray Seals. He was like, "Come to the office. I got your first letter." I'm excited because it's from Florida State. And when they say you get a letter in writing, they mean they really want you. So pay attention to that. If it comes in typed, don't worry about those. But if it comes in writing, that means they really want you there. So I'm reading. It's in writing. I'm excited, and I see, "Vince, we want you to come here to play wide receiver." I'm like, oh man. I was down. So I didn't go to Florida State, so it kind of let me down. But in the same time, I was liking Miami. It was between Southern Miss. I was a big fan of Brett Favre and Steve Mcnair, because they were from Mississippi. So they was recruiting me hard. And then Arkansas was recruiting me hard. Coach Nutt was on me really big. And it was down to Texas. Those were my top schools. And then Mac Brown, he knew what he was doing.
Talk about that. What was it like to play for Mac Brown and his offensive coordinator was a Burroughs Award finalist, Greg Davis?
Greg Davis, yeah. So first when he came into my house, it's a real poor house, and, I'm raised by a number of women. So what hit me off top was, coaches come in, Coach Davis, Coach Drake that passed away as well, and then Coach Brown. So we all walking in, and we trying to find somewhere. We didn't have many seats on not enough places to sit. So coach sits down on the floor with me, and he let the women sit down. So that was off top. He respected women. Okay. But I'm like, dude, you don't want to sit on this floor because we got roaches. You might want to stand up the whole time and talk to everybody because you might see one run across on this floor. But Coach Brown was just unbelievable how he recruited me. And then one of the things I like about him, he's down to earth and he's loyal. If he tells you something, he's going to do it. And when you have that in a coach that he owns up to is what he tell you, not only just you, your family. And I was a true believer of that. And he was like that every day when I got on campus. He told me the truth, and not only to me, my teammates as well. Everybody can say it. They say, if Coach Brown says he's going to give you a chance, it's up to you to lose it. So, and I like that about Coach Brown.
All right, a little Texas-Arkansas history.
Oh, yeah.
Not ancient history. You're a redshirt freshman. Arkansas comes down and stuns Texas, 38-28, break their 20-game home winning streak. I just want to know your thoughts on the quarterback that was playing for Arkansas by the name of Matt Jones.
Whoa. And y'all know Matt Jones is unbelievable. I had to see him twice a year in Tennessee when we had to play Jacksonville. So I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why we can't tackle you? Why is you catching the ball? So the first year, yeah, obviously he got us down in Coach Royal Stadium. And you know, I was sitting there like just really pissed because I was like, Coach, I can help. Can you just, you know, throw me in there to try to help with him? But Matt Jones was too much for us that day. So I took that. Like I said earlier, I take stuff and use it as motivation. So I was using that for next year to get out there to play. You can play at Arkansas in Fayetteville.
You won that game 22-20. Matt had a fumble late in that one. What did you think of the atmosphere in Fayetteville?
Whoa, that was tough. That was tough. One of the toughest places to play at, you know, for the fans to be on you, breathing on your neck, yelling, screaming, like, Vince this, you suck, you can't throw. It was hard. It was hard. So, you know, I'm thinking like right now it's going to be a hard game for the Texas Longhorns coming in here because it's a tough atmosphere. So shout out to you Arkansas fans. Y'all do a good job. And stop that mess, please.
Now, I want you to be honest with me. Any Texas game is the game for Arkansas. You grew up in Houston, a Longhorn. What's Arkansas mean to the average Texas fan?
Well, the shootout is all what we talk about. So yeah. It's a lot of history and traditions between, you know, Texas and Arkansas. So to have it, you know, for this to come back around, to have more games and what's going on with Coach Sharks, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's a fun game. You know, when Arkansas comes down to Austin, and as well as we come, you know, to Fayetteville, it's always going to be a tough game. And as you see the numbers, you know, the history of it, it always goes down to the wire or something like that anyway. But the history of Arkansas fans, man, and the history of Texas fans, just seeing that red in the stadium, and you know you're going to get a little backslash from them guys, a little bit of that. But at the same time, it's fun, and that's what you love about football, the history of it, and the fans interacting with each other, and then also the players. Like I'm real good friends with Darren. You know, we went in the College Hall of Fame together, and just hanging out with him and his family and things like that. That's what you love football about, you know, the fans and everybody and competing on that football field.
You were mentioning to me a lot of Arkansas guys in that Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it is a lot of you guys, so congratulations.
Thoughts on Coach Sark? You know, he won the Baz's Broyles Award last year.
Yes.
So far.
Coach Sark is good. I mean, since he landed in Austin, he's been that guy. I mean, he's an offensive guru. You know, one of the things that I like about him, he's all about the players. And one thing what he talked about when he first got there, he made sure that the team understand they already went through adversity. So with the pandemic, we had to sit out. A couple of guys did spring break, and they know they weren't supposed to. And they came back and got COVID. So they had to back up again because, you know, when you get COVID, you got to shut down everything. And then one of our guys, Jake Ellinger, Sam Ellinger, brother, passed away. So this team was going through already adversity at the beginning of this year. So now it's all about who are you as a team, you know, and he really does a really good job of explaining that to the team. Who do y'all want to be? What's your identity you want to be? You guys have already been through a lot already. So now you just got to play football. So just past weekend, these guys, you know, took dead aim at Louisiana Tech. You know, they showed a really good defense. They showed a really good offense. They did some things that I didn't think they was going to do. I thought Louisiana Tech was going to come in and give us a big challenge, which they did sometimes of that game. But in the same time, I really feel like those tough times at the beginning of this year helped Texas football team right now to be a little tough right now. Texas
always has good-looking tailbacks. Now you have 2 this year.
Oh, yeah.
And that the key for Arkansas, you think, slowing them down?
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, actually. I mean, I can honestly say it's going to be a tough environment for us coming down here in Fayetteville. It's going to be tough, and I think that's going to be good for us because I remember my year when I played, we had Ohio State, our second game of the season, and I think we was ranked number 2 and they was ranked number 3. And I felt like that was to show our identity of our team. If we come out of Ohio State, which is another hostile environment to play, guys had A.J. Hawk, they had Whitner, they had Carpenter, one of the top defense, and we had to go play in that. I mean, I don't think they lost at a night game in their stadium. So that was a game changer for our entire team. And I feel like this game, to understand how to play on the road, it's not easy going into somebody's house and try to win a football game, especially in Fayetteville. It's not going to be easy. So I think this is going to teach them some things and going to help them be a little bit tougher if they could come out this game with a win.
All right, our quarterback is more like you. K.J. Jefferson, he's 6'3", 245 pounds, runs very well. Started 1 game last year and was spectacular against Missouri. Didn't throw the ball as well against Rice early in the game. And, you know, quarterbacks take a beating in social media. Talk about what it would be like now. I don't know what your first game was like, but just to get that instant reaction, it probably wasn't as bad when you played, but now for these kids and what they're dealing with week to week.
Well, it's tough with social media for these young men and young ladies because they looking at it, because I look at it a little bit sometimes, so that can be a distraction. So you got to understand, you got to focus on just your teammates and your coaches, everybody in that locker room. You can't get involved with the social media and all this type of stuff because it will be a distraction. So for him, I think if coaching him is doing a good job, which I think they are, or preparing him and talking to him and making sure he doesn't feed into that stuff, because of the fact it doesn't matter if you throw 3 interceptions, it's how you finish, and he did that. So if they saying that to him now, that means that's giving him a confidence boost right now for this game, because it's going to be a tough game for him. But if he comes out on a win, everybody going to be happy. But if you come out with a lose, everybody going to say the same stuff. So the biggest thing is focus on the positive. Focus on the positive. Do not focus on the negative because of the fact you're going to carry that stuff over to the next game. And I tell my young man, I tell any young man that playing the position at quarterback, if you throw a turnover, you have to figure out how to put it in the pass because you got a next series coming. Because what if your defense get an interception right back to you and you still moping about that interception? So if I was to talk to Jefferson, I would say, man, listen, you had some mistakes, but you finished the game. You finished. And that's all Fayetteville, Arkansas fans want you to do is finish, and your coaching staff.
What felt better for you, throwing a long touchdown pass or running 70 yards for a score?
Throwing a bomb. That just feels so good, throwing a bomb. Throwing bombs all day.
Are you a fan of moving to the SEC?
Yes, I am. I always like playing tough games. It not only myself, but as well as my teammates. It really shows your true colors of who you are. You know, and when you play a tough team, you know, I feel like the SEC is a strong conference. I'm going to be honest. It's like in the NFL, you're going to play a tough game every day. So to play in a conference that is going to prepare you for the next level, I think it's going to be really well. So I have a lot of respect for the SEC. It's definitely about money, but at the same time, I think it's going to be good for the SEC, for us, especially for Big 12. I mean, for Texas and OU to make that transition to go against some really talented teams.
You not only played in one of the greatest games in college history, the 2006 Rose Bowl. You accounted for almost 500 yards in that game.
Trying to be like this young man over here. Goodness gracious. Mom and Dad, great job. And let me know what you feeding him so I can feed my son whatever you feed him.
But in the moment, talk about what was like to go through that with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. And if they had voted on the Heisman Trophy after the game, you didn't win a Heisman Trophy, but you would have won one.
I hope so.
But
Thank
talk
you,
about
guys.
that game, and and now looking back at that game, because I imagine it comes up all the time.
Oh yeah, that was an outstanding game. Period, hands down from start to finish. Again, after I lost that Heisman, and I wanted to bring that Heisman back home to Texas with Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams, and we could be three, top, which we don't have three. Oklahoma got about 5 or 6 shot. Yeah, OU sucks, really. OU sucks.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, after that, losing that Heisman, I was so upset, and I just wanted to get to that game because, first of all, there was, respect to USC. First of all, they were really good. They was outstanding, from Reggie Bush to Lindell White to Matt Leinart, Coach Carroll. I mean, that defense was pretty good. So, so we had respect for him. But one of the things that Coach Brown is good at, he takes care of the media. He does a really good job of that, and that helps us as the players don't focus on media. All we need to do is focus on preparation and getting ourselves prepared to play. And so that week, me, Selvin Young, Casey Stutter, we went to David and Buster's to go have fun and kind of hang out a little bit. And the USC fans, which we didn't know they was there, we in there hanging out, and they there. And they come over and talk some big stuff like, Vince Young, we're going to knock you out. You're going to come out. There's going to be an ambulance sitting out there waiting on you. So when I ran out the tunnel for warm-ups, it's an ambulance sitting out there. I'm like, dang, they really for real. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm getting upset. So, that whole game, I didn't do anything but prepare myself and got ready to play for that game. So it's going to be one of the best games that's going to be ever talked about because of the 1 and 2 teams, hit bumps ahead, undefeated. Then, like I said, USC was getting talked about like all crazy. So the pressure was actually on them, not us. So our main thing we needed to go do is play Texas football.
3rd overall pick in the draft, and then your Rookie of the Year. You got to think this is pretty easy.
Not really. It was some things happened my way, but Tennessee was fun. One of the first things I did a show event like this. With one of the legendary media guys out there, and they did a show for the sponsors, kind of similar like this. And he said, Vince, well, we went 4-12 last year, and y'all might have the possibility of doing the same thing again. I'm like, nah, we not losing. I just never came from just that mentality, thinking negative like that. So my mind was, if Coach give me opportunity to get in there, I'm gonna try my best to win. And we went 8-8 that year, a game short from the playoffs. But again, that season helped us next season. I think we went 12-4, and we lost to Baltimore in the semifinals to go to the Super Bowl. Oh my God, that hurts. We was playing Baltimore, throw a flat route to Algie Crumpler. Everybody know the legend tight end Algie Crumpler. He's running, he's doing his job, and defensive guy put his helmet right on the ball, and you just see it floating in there in slow motion like, no. Our season is going down the drain. And we was in the semifinals to play Baltimore to go play the legend, the GOAT, Tom Brady for the Super Bowl, and our season went down the drain. But at the same time, we kept going. Every year for Tennessee, our season got better and better. So, I'm just all about winning and being an underdog as well.
The great thing about sports is relationships. Who are some of your tight friends as far as college or pro that you continue those relationships with?
Man, Steve Mcnair, the late Steve, I was really close with Steve Mcnair. He mentored me ever since I went to his football camp in high school. To see him go, that was a tough deal for me. Who else? I was real close with Bud Adams. Him watching me since I was a kid, and him telling me about my stats when I walk in his office. I'm like, you really know me like that, Bud? Kobe Bryant, I was real close with Kobe, built a relationship with Kobe. I thought he was fantastic. He taught me some things about, not to listen to the media. That's where I get that from. And at one point in time, I was always listening to the media, looking at that stuff. He like, man, Vince, you're not going to make everybody happy. Just go play you and do you, and that's all you can do. So that made a lot of sense to me when I had a conversation with him. So I had the opportunity to speak to him a lot. Ray Lewis. I'm real close with Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and like I said, Fadden. I mean, it's a lot of guys that I have some good relationships with to this day. And now we just playing some golf. You know, we suck, but we playing some golf.
I notice you have the Texas wristband on right there.
Oh yeah,
you're on both wrists.
Both arms, yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing now for Texas? And how good is it to get to work for the Longhorns?
Well, yeah, it's fun. I mean, just to be an ambassador for the university, to represent the university, kind of similar to what Eric Campbell is doing, just being visible. One of the things I love about it, we have a UT Elementary that I help raise money for, and to see those little kids when I walk in that elementary, I'm like, I'm huge, and they jumping on my legs, they jumping on my shoulders. So just to do that every day, to put smiles on young faces, young males and young ladies' faces, that I enjoy doing that. So it's been fun. I mean, I'm always representing UT.
Be honest with me, do you stick your head in the quarterback room every once in a while?
I stick my head in there and watch film. Like, what are you doing, son? Like, that is not football. So, you know, when you have that respect, you can sometimes do that. So I try not to ball him when I'm in there, but I do mess with him though.
How different? You have a young quarterback too. He played well, but he's going to see an environment.
Yeah.
It's jacked up to umpteenth degree on the road now, or it's all that love last week.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean. It's going to be a tough environment for him, and we're going to have to be able to use both quarterbacks for one. And again, we're going to have to give it to that young man, them two-headed monsters that we have in the backfield. You have to know how to run the ball when you're playing against a SEC team. If you don't know how to run the ball, you're not going to have a good game. So, well, him, I think he handled the pressure pretty well. I think he's going to do okay, but he has to lean on his teammates, and he has to, as soon as he walks in that stadium, he has to tune out the Arkansas fans, because they're going to be just like they did me. You still suck. So he better be ready for that.
Well, I want to thank you. We're getting out here early today. You said a record. Yeah, but I want to thank you, Vince Young.
No problem. Thank y'all guys for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you, Touchdown Club. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Remember, we got Terry Bradshaw next week, so we'll see you then. Meanwhile, enjoy Texas Week.
He's doing photos.
Enjoy the game.
All right, there will be photos for the people who qualify, the sponsors, and the 50-yard line.